The sky above Incheon Airport looked pale that morning. A light fog hung between the marching planes, while the sound of suitcase wheels rubbed softly against the cold marble floor. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the passengers, two figures walked at the same calm pace, as if time no longer dared to touch them. No shouting, no cameras, just the unfamiliar glances of people who vaguely recognize the two big names who now choose to remain silent in the crowd. The world calls them legends. But that morning, they were just two young men who were staring at the end of one chapter of life and the beginning of a new one that would separate them for a while. One of them, the younger one, grasped the departure ticket with a slightly trembling hand. Behind a black hat and mask, his eyes stared toward the large glass display of the plane that was about to take him away. He was used to the spotlight, but this time it was different. This time, he did not leave for a world tour or a photo shoot, but rather to live something much quieter, a period of conscription that would separate him from the stage, from the music, from the thousands of lights that used to illuminate his face. On the other hand, the other figure stood further back, staring in silence. He did not take part in the open escort, but between the looks of the eyes that met each other for a moment, both knew there was no need for words. There was something unspoken between them, something that even the world would never truly understand. They grew up in the same world of glittering stages, giant corporations demanding perfection, and the invisible pressure that comes from millions of pairs of eyes around the world. Both are symbols of the same era, two flaming stars of one huge constellation called the Korean entertainment industry. Behind the rays and songs, there is a dark space that only they understand. A space where ambitions meet tired and love for art collides with the demands of the system. The corporate headquarters that houses them, a towering glass building in the center of Yongsan, bears witness to everything the public has never known. In cold meeting rooms, decisions are made by numbers, not feelings. But out there, the two figures become human beings who bear the consequences of each decision. The young figure once said in an old interview, "I want to keep singing, but I also want to know who I am off stage." That simple sentence then becomes a never-ending reflection. For many years, he lived in the same rhythm of concerts, rehearsals, promotions, and returning to the studio. Until the end, the period of conscription comes not as a burden, but as a respite, a time to breathe, but also time to lose. Meanwhile, his best friend, better known for his cold charisma and distinctive voice, is in the midst of a busy solo career. He has just finished shooting abroad, preparing for his next album, and occasionally gazing at the sky of the city that never sleeps. But in every successful step he took, there was a shadow that always followed the shadow of a comrade in arms who now had to lead a military life away from the public spotlight. He knows how hard it is to let go of the stage. Even just temporarily, at the Hyatt Place, the atmosphere is relaxed. The company that raised them is now at a crossroads. After years of being home to the world's largest group, they face a time when all members must live up to the same obligations, leaving the spotlight behind in favor of state responsibilities. In a boardroom full of screens and graphics, big names are called out in a flat tone. But outside that room, thousands of fans waited expectantly and anxiously. When the plane starts moving on the runway, the rumbling sound of the engines feels like an echo of the past slowly moving away. The young star gazed out the window, seeing the shrinking city of Seoul below. In his heart, he knew that everything would change when he returned. The entertainment world never waits. But he also knew that somewhere, someone still believed that the music they were making wasn't over, that their story still had a next chapter. Time is running. News of military activity began to appear occasionally in the media, but rarely did anyone know how things really were. He learned to get up early, live without a camera, and write little songs in an old notebook that he hid under his pillow. A song about loss, about friendship, about longing for the stage, and someone who used to always stand next to him. He wrote not for the public, but for himself, a way to remember who he really was on the other side of the city. The best friend began to undergo heavy solo promotions. He performs at music shows, attends interviews, and tries to smile in front of the camera. But in every look, there was something empty, as if a part of him went with the one who was now guarding the border. In a short interview, when asked what was the most difficult thing in his career, he replied quietly, "Waiting." The word is simple, but it contains everything. Waiting for colleagues, waiting for time, waiting for a miracle that may happen after the storm. Because behind all the fame and success, the stars too human, they feel the same loneliness, loss, and fear as anyone. While the world continues to speculate about the future of the industry, about whether the two will be back on one stage, HYBE's headquarters still stands majestically in the middle of Seoul's night. The lights on the upper floors rarely went out, as if the company had never slept. Behind the clear glass, managers and directors are still talking about strategy, expansion, and sales charts. But none of those charts could measure the most important thing: the bond formed between those who once walked together in the same dream. One cold afternoon, a few months later, an Incheon Airport attendant recognized a familiar face walking alone among the passengers. No bodyguards, no cameras, just a young man in a gray hat, pulling the trunk slowly, looked around with tender eyes. He's back. No big announcement, no welcoming ceremony, only warm silence. A few hours later, on social media, someone uploaded a blurry photo. Two figures in a corner of an airport cafe, chuckling while staring at a mobile phone screen. No one knew what they were talking about, but the smiles on their faces were real. More real than any stage picture ever captured. The world may see two idols, but for them it's a simple moment. Two old friends who can finally sit together again after a long storm. Time seemed to stop for a moment. Outside, planes continue to take off one by one, bringing new stories to all corners of the world. But in that little corner, two stars who were once separated by distance and obligation find their way home. Not to the house, not to the stage, but to each other. The next few months, rumors began to circulate about a possible new collaboration project. Nothing is confirmed, nothing is refuted. But fans know, every time they reappear together on social media, there is always something being prepared. And somehow, the world looked back at HYB, not with the anger it once did, but with renewed hope. That perhaps, of all the silences and wounds, the next born music will be more honest, more human, and more beautiful than the previous one. And that night, as the lights at Incheon Airport slowly went out, someone wrote one sentence on the glass wall of the terminal facing the runway. Stars never really go away, they just hide behind the calm sky.